You've just finished your shift. You're exhausted, barely holding yourself together. All you're thinking about is a quick dinner, maybe a few minutes of your favorite show. And then crashing into bed, you step into the elevator. The doors close behind you like they always do, but this time, something's off. Nothing happens. The elevator doesn't move, no signal. No one answers when you shout for help. A few minutes go by, then more, then hours. You're stuck, alone, suspended between two floors, inside a sealed metal box. Sounds like a horror movie, right? But this isn't fiction. This actually happened to a woman named Wu Mu Mu in China, Xi'an, China, Sunday morning, March 1st, 2015. The city was slowly waking up after a long Lunar New Year holiday. People were getting back to work, slipping into their daily routines. Among them were two elevator technicians carrying their tools. They headed to a 15-story apartment building for a scheduled maintenance check. They walked in casually, chatting as they went, relaxed, unhurried. But as they approached the elevator, something changed. One of them suddenly stopped. A strong, foul smell was coming from inside the elevator shaft. They figured it was just trash, nothing unusual. So, they reconnected the power to bring the system back online. And then, it happened. Something they never imagined. Something they didn't want to believe. Just a few seconds after the power was restored, the elevator doors slid open. Inside, a woman was lying motionless on the floor. Her hands were stained with dried blood. Moments after the body was found, police from Xi'an, along with the building's safety inspection team, arrived at the scene. The area was quickly sealed off as the investigation got underway. An initial forensic report confirmed that the victim was a woman, likely between 40 and 50 years old. Residents of the building identified her as Wu Mu Mu, 43, who lived with her family on the 10th floor. Neighbors said she had a history of mental health issues. They described her as emotionally unstable and often distant, someone who rarely spoke to others or took part in community life. Because of this, she lived quietly and alone, even while sharing a home with her family. A preliminary examination of the body found no signs of physical trauma. The likely cause of death was a combination of dehydration and severe physical exhaustion over an extended period. Based on this, investigators initially ruled out foul play. They leaned toward the theory of a tragic accident, possibly linked to the victim's mental state, or a technical malfunction with the elevator system. But at this point, it was only a working theory to determine what really happened. The team needed to continue gathering evidence and conduct a more thorough investigation. Investigators reached out to Wu Mu Mu's family to learn more about her mental state at the time of the incident. Her mother and siblings were visibly emotional. Through tears, they explained that years earlier, Wu had married young, but the relationship quickly turned sour. She and her husband divorced not long after the wedding. Since then, her mental health had been unstable. That, they said, was one of the reasons she still lived with her family, even as an adult, about a month before her body was found. Wu had gone missing. Her family grew increasingly worried. They searched everywhere, but there was no trace of her, until one day. The police knocked on their door, with news no one was ready to hear. One resident on the 10th floor told police that when she heard the news, she panicked. Nearly a month earlier, she had heard strange noises coming from the elevator that was eventually found to be the scene of the incident. At the time, she hadn't thought much of it. The elevator had been marked under maintenance, and everyone in the building had been using the other one. She assumed the noises were just normal sounds from ongoing repair work, nothing out of the ordinary. But with that witness statement and the forensic report confirming time of death, investigators came to a chilling conclusion. Wu Mu Mu had likely died nearly a month earlier. That meant she had spent days, possibly weeks, slowly fading away inside the elevator, while the rest of the city celebrated Lunar New Year just outside. That left one unsettling question. If the elevator had been under maintenance, as residents claimed, how did someone, especially someone in a fragile mental state, end up trapped inside? To find the answer, investigators turned their attention to the building's elevator system. They reviewed safety protocols, possible technical failures, and maintenance logs from the past 3 months. According to the records, the elevator in question had been deactivated and left idle between the 10th and 11th floors, exactly 1 month earlier, for scheduled repairs. What stood out and raised serious concern was what happened on the day of the maintenance. Just before the Lunar New Year holiday, on January 30th, 2015, 2 elevator technicians were dispatched to the building to carry out scheduled repairs. When they arrived, they immediately shut down the system to begin their work. Throughout the inspection, they restored power temporarily to perform technical tests and replace necessary parts. After completing the main tasks, they prepared to switch the power off one last time before leaving. And that's when the problem began. According to the later testimony of one of the 2 technicians, they failed to follow standard safety protocols on the day of the incident. Instead of carefully opening the elevator doors to check if anyone was inside, they simply assumed, with full confidence, that no one would be reckless enough to enter an elevator that was under maintenance. That blind confidence clouded their judgment for the rest of the day. They didn't stop to consider the worst case scenario. Adding to the problem was the timing. It was the eve of Lunar New Year, a time when everyone, including them, was eager to finish work and head home for the holiday. Caught up in the excitement and rush, the 2 men let their guard down. In that careless moment, they shut off the power and walked away, never checking the cabin one last time. They went home in good spirits, completely unaware that their negligence had just sealed someone's fate. When the truth finally came to light, residents of the apartment building were outraged. The shocking negligence of the 2 elevator technicians sparked a wave of anger and frustration throughout the community. Emergency meetings were held. Residents demanded that the building's management take immediate and serious action to ensure nothing like this could ever happen again. They called for stricter maintenance protocols, regular and more effective safety checks, and clearer communication during repair work. Above all, they urged local authorities to step in, to launch a full investigation, and hold those responsible legally accountable for what had happened. It only took a single act of negligence to turn Woo Moo into a victim, left to endure unthinkable suffering for 30 days. No food, no water, no escape, according to Dr. Mia Lee, a board-certified internal surgeon and member of the American Society for Metabolic and Bariatric Surgery. The human body can technically survive for weeks without food, but water is a different story. Just hours without hydration can trigger symptoms like intense thirst and dizziness. Over time, these can escalate into rapid heartbeat, organ failure, and delirium. Medically speaking, it's clear Woo Moo's final days were defined by the agony of dehydration. And that's not all. The elevator had no light, no air circulation. The space grew darker and more suffocating by the hour, worsening Woo Moo's fear and anxiety. Worse still, she had no way to contact anyone, no phone signal, no help coming. She was trapped in absolute isolation. That perhaps explains why, when her body was finally discovered, her hands were covered in dried blood. The sight broke the hearts of everyone who saw it. And then came another discovery: scratch marks on the inside of the elevator doors. Marks left by a desperate woman who tried, with every last bit of strength, to survive, but she never made it out. That image stayed with everyone, not just the residents, but even the officers who worked the case. It haunted them long after. The scene was cleared. Elevator maintenance is supposed to protect the lives of people in a building. But one careless mistake changed everything. 2 technicians, eager to wrap up their work, skipped one crucial step, and because of that, Woo Moo lost her life in the most horrifying way imaginable. Nothing they did afterward could undo the damage. Both men were eventually charged with involuntary manslaughter and ordered to pay damages for their negligence. People often say, The road to hell is paved with good intentions. And in Wu Mu Mu's case, that couldn't be more true. She didn't die because someone meant her harm. She died because someone thought, it'll be fine. Because someone skipped one small step, but that small step could have saved a life. Today's video ends here. Thank you all for watching until the very end. See you in the next videos. Goodbye.